I can't think of a more perfect way to depict the unaliving of Hank and Dean. It works so well.
Flynn's Arcade.
Hi, this is Flynn's Arcade, and this is my video about the season 1 finale of The Venture Brothers Return to Spider Skull Island, with special reference to this book here. Before we start, please can you subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and drop the video a like because it really helps. And now on with the video. I'm going to give a quick synopsis of the episode. I'm going to talk about any themes that I've noticed, any character development I've noticed, any jokes that I particularly like, and the general style of the episode, and finally I'm going to rate the episode out of 10. In this episode, Dr. Venture is taken to hospital with a mysterious illness, so the boys go to stay with Dr. Orpheus. Due to them mistakenly believing that they're about to get lumbered with a baby brother or sister, they decide to run away from home. And then, in the words of Brock,
That Doc's deformed twin brother he absorbed in the womb has come back for revenge, but now they made up, so...
The whole family's set off for home, but the boys have a run-in with a couple of henchmen, and it leads to them crashing their hover bikes. Much of the drama of this episode is driven by the theme of sibling rivalry. JJ, it feels like he's been wronged by Dr. Venture.
Sucker punched me in the womb. I've been inside you all your life, watching, listening, planning, waiting.
And the boys suspect that a new baby brother or sister could oust them from the family, and this leads to the drama in their lives, and it's the reason for them running away from home.
This is how it's always gonna be.
What do you mean?
Now that Dad has a brand new baby, he's not gonna want us hanging around. I bet he just leaves us here.
You're crazy. Dad would never do that.
Well, I, for one, ain't gonna stick around to find out. I'm out of here.
In many ways, the show that we know as The Venture Brothers actually starts with this episode, and now that sibling rivalries become a thing, it's going to continue to be a consistent thing throughout the series as we move forward. Another theme is growing up weird, which is the case with Hank and Dean. They're poorly educated because they've spent all the time in their trying to be educated in their sleep, which, you know, it's not a very unconventional way to educate anyone. Also, the tapes that they were shown when they're in their learning beds when they're supposed to be asleep, it's all information from the 1960s, so what does go in is horribly out of date. They've never gone to school and met normal children, so they have grown up incredibly strange because the various weird influences that they have, and this really shows up in this episode because in contrast to what happens with Triana, they really are very dim, and that they think a man can become pregnant for starters, so they've not even learned basic biology.
Dad's becoming a real fatty.
No, Hank. I think Pop is pregnant.
They also think they can run away from home to become famous lion tamers, so you know they have got a very skewed perspective on life, and this is really shown up because of with what Triana says to her dad, and that when Triana ran away from home, she just went to stay at a friend's house, which is completely normal, and so that's the point of view they're running away from home from. But obviously, they're not Triana, so they're going to do something weird, and this is why Dr. Orpheus, even though, you know, he's a great guy and he tries to handle a situation in a really responsible and ethical and sensitive way.
Remember when I ran away? I just went to Rachel's house. So try not to embarrass them for me.
Don't worry, Pumpkin. It is not my intention to shame them. I just have to keep them safe. I will be their shadow. Nay, their unseen guardian angel.
He does the wrong thing for the right reasons, because if he'd really thought about it, just thought, look, the Ventures, they can't be out on their own. They're not well brought up, well adjusted teenagers like Triana is. They're the Ventures, you know, normal rules don't apply. We get some major character development with the introduction of JJ.
Jonas Venture Jr.
The extra Venture uncle, I suppose I'd call him. He's a pretty good new character. I mean, he starts off and he's absolutely furious. I mean, he's literally gone crazy with envy. Like, he's furious about Dr. Venture, stealing his legacy as far as he sees it. And the presence of JJ, it raises some really interesting questions, because prior to meeting you know, the new Venture uncle, we you know, Dr. Venture wouldn't have he didn't really possess any qualities that, you know, I as the viewer, and probably quite a lot of you as well, you know, would feel jealous of, really, like, because, you know, he's quite sad in a lot of ways. However, seeing him through JJ's eyes, it really starts to make me reevaluate Dr. Venture. I mean, when you think about it, he lives in a big house and has a happy-ish family. He's a famous super scientist, and fundamentally, his dad Jonas knew him and loved him. And so when you look at it, JJ had none of these things. I actually think, well, wow, actually, you know, he actually is doing all right for himself. And as we get to learn more about JJ and the way his various successes, which we'll see moving forward, that really will throw a lot into question about just why is Dr. Venture a failure, and should he even be classed as a failure, and could he blame, like, his problems on his terrible upbringing? And, you know, at this point we haven't really learned just how bad his upbringing was. We've just had vague hints of it. But can he really blame everything on, you know, on that because of the terrible start in life that JJ got? JJ himself gets some very interesting character development. When we first see him, he's a terrifying half man, half machine.
Hello, Rusty.
Who the hell are you?
Don't you recognize me, Rusty? It's been a while, I know.
But quite quickly we realise that he's just part of Helper, and he's part of the oven from Dr. Venture's kitchen. However, ultimately we get to see what JJ really is. I mean, he's Hank and Dean's uncle, and he's Dr. Venture's brother. He's always going to be a bit of a failure, and he's always going to be quite funny. And so when we see him towards the end, like, it's been quite a change in character from what we initially thought he was.
Okay, take it easy. What else do you want? Do you want Dean? You can have Dean! He could carry you on his back, like Master Blaster.
The Monarch gets quite a bit of character development in this episode too, because throughout season 1, his and Dr. ex-girlfriend's relationship were incredibly strained. They, you know, and he didn't seem to notice or care. Whereas now that she's left him, he's absolutely obsessed with it. I mean, he seems to care more about losing Doc's girlfriend than he does about the fact that he's serving a lengthy prison sentence. When he meets Hank and Dean in prison, he blames them at this point for framing him. But all he can do is talk about Doc's girlfriend.
But, you know, I'm in motherfucking prison here. My life is Dr. Girlfriend left me.
Why would you want to kill us?
Because she needs her space, like I didn't give her space. She had the whole f***ing cocoon!
And so that's a massive development. It just shows that his hatred for the Ventures isn't the main thing in his life, and it's taken a lot for him to realise just how important she is, but he's actually finally starting to. Dr. Orpheus, I've always thought of him as a really nice dad and a really, like, all-round cool guy. In this episode, I just think he's absolutely awesome. I think his attitude towards the boys running away, and his attitude generally to looking after them, I find it really, really impressive. You know, he is one of the nicer people in the Ventureverse. He's certainly one of the most sensible. It's just really sad what ultimately happened, because his decision making in this episode his decisions will have really, like, they'll haunt him for the rest of his life. As to the humour of this episode, one of my favourite jokes comes from the funny background event when JJ makes off with the X1. I also particularly enjoy the time when the boys are talking to the Monarch in prison and they're taking his comments really literally.
I'm in for murder.
You boys don't want to end up in here. This place is full of f***ing animals. I don't mean King Gorilla, Hank. I mean this place will chew you up and spit you out. No, I'm not talking about Mecha Mouth, Hank.
About King Gorilla and Mecha Mouth, I just love that one. As the style of this episode, it's very heavily influenced by the film Easy Rider, and I'm going to read out a quote by Doc Hammer now. Doc says, "We make these cultural references to movies and things, but we appropriate them in a way that if you don't know them, it doesn't matter, because we're not, like, just making a joke about, like, hey, remember Easy Rider? We're making it work for you, we're making it work for our thing. You can know Easy Rider and be reminded of it, but you don't have to." And so that's it. It's very heavy reference to the film. But as Doc says, if you've not seen the film, like it doesn't really matter. It won't spoil your enjoyment of the episode. But I have seen Easy Rider. I've seen it many times. It's one of those films that I went through a phase where I just used to stick it on because it's a very easy film just to watch, again and again. If you're just sort of not sort of half watching it and sort of getting on with other things, it's really good for that. And the foul-mouthed redneck that Dr. Orpheus encounters is a reference to two of the villains in that film.
Check that joker with the long hair.
I've checked him already. Look like we might have to bring him up to the Hilton before it's all over.
I think she's cute.
Isn't she, though? I guess we put him in a woman's cell, don't you reckon?
Oh, I think we ought to put him in a cage and charge a little admission to see him.
Those are what is known as country witticisms.
As is the boy's senseless and pointless deaths. When I was researching this video, I decided to just re-watch the end sequence of Easy Rider, and it's just as beautiful and poignant as I remember. I'm just going to link to it in the description now, but yeah, it's like, especially I read the comments as well for people who watched it, and there was all these incredibly moving comments from like Vietnam veterans and other people who've been really affected by the events depicted in Easy Rider. So yeah, it's really poignant and a beautiful film, and it's sort of it's just amazing to. I can't think of a more perfect way to depict the unaliving of Hank and Dean. It works so well. There's a couple of other references. There's a very low-key reference to Kill a Mockingbird.
Fine, take the busted up chifferobe. That's fair.
There's also a reference to the filmmaker John Woo. So I'm going to give this episode a full 10 out of 10. It's a perfect episode. It's got everything I want in an episode of The Venture Brothers. It's got a complex plot which gets my imagination going. It's got a perfect mixture of fantasy and reality. It's got the perfect mixture of comedy and profound tragedy. And it's also got the inclusion of really well thought out and complex characters. It's absolutely awesome. In the recent interview Doc Hammer and Jackson Public did with Swimpedia, which I'm going to link to in the description, Doc Hammer said that a fan had said to him that The Venture Brothers is the most realistic show that he's seen. And it's one of those things, I read that and I thought, I totally agree with it, because whilst, The Venture Brothers has got cloning and artificial gravity machines and all kinds of crazy things, the way the characters behave, they're just so well thought out. Everyone does everything that you completely expect them to do. Everything works in universe. There's never any plot holes. It just feels like real life watching it. And it is a really realistic program, albeit one about the various things that I've mentioned, and and the fact that some quite a bit of the drama comes from boys being clones and and sort of somebody's tumour becoming developing sibling rivalry with them. But it's really spot on. So thanks for watching this. When I decided to do videos on the Venture Brothers, I initially thought, I'll do season 1, and then at the end of season 1 I'll evaluate and decide if I want to continue. I've absolutely loved it. I've enjoyed doing this way more than I actually thought I would do when I decided to do this. So I'm totally going to carry on and move on to season 2. I'm already looking forward to it. I actually haven't seen the first episode of season 2 yet. I mean, I've obviously seen it. I mean, I saw it quite a long time ago, but I haven't seen it recently because I've been trying to sort of I wanted to get all the finish filming all these videos, get them up, and then watch the first episode of season 2 in an effort to sort of recreate the famous long gaps between seasons of Venture Brothers. So I don't know when I'll actually end up watching the first episode of season 2, but it might take a while. I don't know, because it depends on when I actually upload these videos. I think the next Venture Brothers video essay I'm going to do though will be on the Christmas special, A Very Venture Christmas. It's a funny one because it's not canon. So I actually did watch that not that long ago, and the boys are still alive, and so it really isn't canon. But Yeah, I covered the pilot, so I think I should cover that one too. And so yeah, so that'll be the next one I do. Then we'll be on to like the proper start of season 2, which I'm quite excited about. So if you let me know in the comments what you think, let me know if I've missed anything, let me know if you've got any ideas. If you don't know what to write, please just drop me a Go Team Venture, because it really will help with the algorithm. So that's all from me. Unless something comes up in the meantime, I'll see you next Sunday.